Chapter 2.1 Congruent Figures. Congruent figures have the same size and the same shape. Congruent polygons have congruent corresponding parts. Always list corresponding vertices in the same order. Now, vertices, remember, is another word for angle. So I'm going to draw two rectangles, and I'm going to tell you that they are congruent. I'm going to label this one A, B, C, D. And this one's going to be H, I, J, K. Now, I've taken this rectangle and just flipped it up on its side. So I'm telling you right now that D now corresponds to H. So I'm going to start naming my rectangle D, A, B, C. I started at D and went around this way. And that's my little rectangle guy. So now I'm going to have to name this rectangle in the same order. I'll start with H because that corresponded to D and circle around. H, J, K, I. So D corresponds with H, A corresponds with J. See how I know this? A to J. So B has to correspond to K, and C will correspond to I. It's another, well, they're all right angles. Just my different tick marks there. So order will help you know your corresponding parts, your vertices, and your sides. DA is the same as HJ. Here's DA, here's HJ. So now we're going to be naming some congruent parts. Triangle TJD is congruent to triangle RCF. Now I'm not really sure if I should have put that little symbol there or not. So I'm just going to erase that puppy. So let's talk about some of the ways that the order helps us. T should be the same as R. So that is a corresponding angle. J is second in our naming. C is second in our naming. And I can tell right now those are both right angles, so I know J corresponds to C. D is my third angle. F is my third angle. D corresponds to F. And so we can do the same thing with our sides. If we look at it, TJ is in the first two in order. So TJ will correspond with RC. TJ corresponds with RC. JD, second and third letters. CF, second and third letters correspond. And my two outsides, TD, corresponds with RF. TD corresponds with RF. So now we're going to do it on our own. The figures are congruent. We're going to name the corresponding angles and the corresponding sides. So I'm going to make a list over here for angles and sides. Name your polygon. Let's name it starting with A and going around. A, B, C, D. So who corresponds with A? W does, so we'll go the same way. W, X, Y, Z. I want you to go now, pause the video, the slides, and try to fill in the angles that are congruent and corresponding sides as well. All right, let's see how well you did. Angles that are congruent or corresponding. A with W, we already knew that one. B with X, oh, I'm an eraser. B with X, second letter, C with Y, and D with Z. So the same thing happens with our sides, starting in order. AB, first two, go with WX. BC, second two, go with XY. CD goes with YZ. And AD goes with WZ. How'd you do? All right, which square is congruent to square A? So here's square A. Think about what congruent means. Same what? Two things. Shape and size. So let's think about it. Each square does have 4 right angles, so our corresponding angles are congruent. So all these have right angles. Let's look at square A and B. Each side length of square A is 8, and each side length of square B is 9. So our sides are not congruent, so it can't be A and B. Let's look at square A and C. Each side length in square A and square C is 8. So our corresponding sides are congruent. Let's look at our trapezoids. A, B, C, D, see how they labeled it going this way, is congruent to J, K, L, M. Again, their order of their naming. What is the length of JM? Well, I'm curious about JM. Who corresponds with JM? Well, JM, I'm going to write them over here, makes it easier for us. They had them labeled A, B, C, D, J, K, L, M. Well, JM are our outside letters, so AD up here is our corresponding. So who corresponds with that? AD does. And if AD is 10 feet, then JM also has to be 10 feet. So what is the perimeter of our whole trapezoid? Well, if we know the perimeter of a congruent polygon, then it has to be exactly the same, just like our squares were, 8, 8, 8, 8, same thing. So perimeter, P equals add sides. So I will have to add 6 plus 8 plus 8 plus 10. Let's see what we get here. Oh, 32 feet. So our perimeter of our polygon is 32 feet. This is the end of 2.1.